Happy days for the host nation Sri Lanka as they win this game against Australia. A resounding win with 2 overs to spare. Pathum Nissanka with a magnificent 100, first of this World Cup, completely blowing Australia away. 2 very impressed experts in the house. We'll talk to them, but take a look at the scorecard. Australia managing only 181 after having 110 in the first 10. The second half was a bit of a strange show from their batters as Sri Lanka struck back with only 182 to chase. Sri Lanka went about it very clinically, and there you are then. Pathum Nissanka, the star, 100 not out, saw his team through, and Sri Lanka are through to the Super 8s. What a clinical chase this was, a completely one-sided show. Australia just weren't there at all in the second innings.
Credit to the Sri Lankan batters. I think the way they lost a wicket early, then they had a 96 or 97 run partnership, and then another big partnership. So the main factor of this chase was getting partnerships early on. They got off to a really good start in the power play as well, as we expected them to go heavy in the power play, because what we saw in the Australian innings was you had to take advantage of that. Yeah. But I think the dew factor played a role. Sure. I think the dew factor, not only in terms of making the ball a little wet, it played a role on the pitch as well. The pitch got better as the match went on. So excellent toss to win, and in that sense, it was a perfect game from Sri Lanka.
Yes, well summarized there by Rohan, looking at all the various aspects of this win for Sri Lanka. But Pathum Nissanka just pulled out a really special performance against a very dangerous team potentially.
Look, this guy Pathum Nissanka has been the poster boy of Sri Lankan cricket now ever since he came and made a century on debut in test matches. He's got a double-hundred in one-day international cricket. He got a great century against India, if you remember, in September 25 in the Asia Cup. He is their go-to batter. He is the guy who really defines the way they bat. And his innings, therefore, it was so crucial. So today, they brought back, look at that, the 5 sixes, and the best part of it is he never allowed the run rate to go above a certain number. Yeah. He and Kusal Mendis managed that run rate absolutely fantastically throughout. 180 is not a small target to chase. You're starting at 9 and over. To be able to manage that chase and manage it without losing your head, without taking any risks, I thought Pathum Nissanka was absolutely sensational today.
And sorry, he said 9 and over. Let's not forget that while they had 2 wins under their belt, it was against the smaller teams, the slightly weaker teams. Yeah. So this, in a sense, was a pressure game for them as well, because like we said earlier in the pre-match show, you didn't want to go into that game against Zimbabwe thinking that we need to win this to qualify. Yeah. So under pressure, chasing 9 and over, they always tell you in a big game, scoreboard pressure will play a part. But the way he batted, he made sure that scoreboard pressure did not play a part.
10 fours, 5 sixes, that's 70 of his 100 off the big shots. Very much like their head coach Jayasuriya. He would have loved this approach. Just goes bang, bang, but sensibly.
However, I mean, this format was made for players like Sanat Jayasuriya. It's a pity that it came towards the end of his career. But if he was, if this was at the start of his career, we would have been talking about Sanat Jayasuriya as one of the all-time greats of T20 cricket, with his bowling and his unbelievably attacking batting. But yeah, I mean, Sanat would have been extremely happy with the way not just the batters performed, it's the way the whole team performed,
So look, I feel also genuinely the difference that's made when Sanat coming. If you remember if you see there's a post Sangakkara / Jayawardena period where under Chandimal and then after Angelo Matthew, the team has drifted. And you really haven't got results from them. And then after that, if you remember in the last 3, 4, 5 years, just lockdown and immediately after, they've had fair amount of disciplinary issues, players being sent back from tours, players leaving their rooms, all sorts of stuff happening. And they've had foreign coaches, but I think now going to Jayasuriya, and Jayasuriya, the one word that's coming from Sri Lanka is he's a disciplinarian. He is just 2 things he doesn't compromise on: discipline and fitness. These 2 he has zero tolerance for. And I think it's beginning to say, because, if you have young kids, very talented kids, and you give them a certain amount of direction, and I think Sanat Jayasuriya has done just that for them.
4 points before this game, wins against Ireland and Oman, but this one has to feel special, clearly against Australia. Now, having beaten the mighty Aussies, can Sri Lanka believe they can go all the way?
I think Sri Lanka will like the fact that, firstly, the group that they are going to come into, just the way the draw is happening, is actually quite favourable to them to reach a semi-final at least. And if you look at it from their side, if you look at the qualifiers that are expected, they are looking at
New Zealand,
England,
Pakistan,
and themselves. And I think they'll fancy their chances of being in the top 2 there.
Interesting. You have to doff your hat off to the approach of the Sri Lankans there. He wasn't alone. If you look at the man that came in at number 3, the partnership that Rohan referred to was clearly crucial in taking this game away. His partnership with Kusal Mendis as well. It cannot be a one-man show. You have to have a partner at the other end who is going at the same rate as you in a chase like this.
Absolutely. And I think some of the way they were talking to each other, the way they were connecting with each other. If you see the way they attacked the bowling, one of the things they did was the moment the bowler was going wide of the wicket, they were employing the reverse.
Yeah.
And the moment the reverse started becoming effective, what happened was you packed the offside, then they moved back in the crease and started hitting it through. So I loved the way they manipulated the field, especially slightly inexperienced bowler like Cooper Connolly. I mean, they really took him apart. They really knew where to hit him. And if you look at it, the Australians did not do themselves any favours also, because I think tactically the kind of bowling changes they had starting with Stoinis, I know Stoinis got a wicket up front.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked for them.
We'll look at the Australian bowling in just a bit, but in the 13th over, you saw the wicket of Kusal Mendis fall, and at that stage, they needed about 76 of 50 deliveries, Rohan, and we thought, hang on, are we going to see what we saw in the first innings?
Yeah.
They could have lost their way, but this young man walks in and just bats like he's been there for a long time, Pavan Ratnayake.
Yeah, look, it was again the fact that he had Nissanka at the other end sort of, in a way, also helps. But it's partnerships. Partnerships are key in any format of the game. The only difference is in Test cricket, what you want is a 100-run partnership. In ODI cricket, what you want is a 50-run partnership. In T20 cricket, if you get a 20 to 30-run partnership, it's a good partnership. That's all you really need. So I thought the partnerships were key. I thought the way they bat. Again, I'm going to repeat myself away. I think the dew really made a difference. The pitch became a lot better to bat on. Let's not take anything away from the way they batted, but it just became a little bit easier. But boy, did they put on a show for us. Did they make a target which could have been very tricky and competitive? They made it look like a very easy run chase.
Easy. That's true. No, I was just thinking about that. And the point he's made is so important that right then, what happens is they lose the wicket, Kusal Mendis, and then a very tight over is bowled by, reasonably tight over is bowled by Zampa.
Yes.
And then there's a fair amount of pressure on them. And then they take Stoinis apart on the 15th over for 20. That's the turning point of the match. That 20 basically just changes the complexion of the chase. And that suddenly gives them so much momentum that after that it's difficult. You look at some of the bowling changes also, it's surprising. Because see, you've got Maxi coming in. But you've got him, he's whatever it is. I know there are 2 right-handers out there. But he's an experienced bowler. They bring him in the 12th over. His first over is the 12th over. By that time, a lot of the match is already set.
Yeah.
And Maxwell is a good bowler under these conditions. Look, I'm not saying that you necessarily need to throw in Maxwell every time. But if it's not working, don't you throw the ball and say, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think they didn't.
That partnership, 79 of 34, and that means a strike rate of about 240, 250, completely blew Australia away. And with this statement, when clearly Rohan, a message has been sent across to England, potentially Pakistan and New Zealand. Sri Lanka will be a tricky opposition to face in the Super 8s. This is a big confidence-boosting win for them.
Yes, it is. But having said that, I don't think any of the teams that you mentioned would have been taking them lightly even before this game started.
Sure.
Right, even before this game started, they would be saying, okay, Sri Lanka, they're a top side. We've seen what their players are capable of. These are home conditions for them, so that is an advantage. They know how to play in these conditions, so that is obviously a big advantage. So none of those, whether it's England, New Zealand, Pakistan, none of these teams have been taking them lightly. Or for that matter, if it's any teams from, the other side of the group, whether it's India, no one's going to be taking Sri Lanka lightly. That is the beauty of T20 cricket. Look, the shorter the format, the difference between the two teams becomes lesser.
Closer and closer.
Yeah.
Right. So all you need is a couple of your X-factor players, your match winners, to have a great day, and you can be blown away. We saw that with Nissanka today. He had a phenomenal day. Australia, having put up 180 on the board, were blown away.
And what's even more noticeable is that this team stopped Australia at 181 without the services of Matisha Pathirana. So
Yeah, and that'll be the one big worry, that if Pathirana does not return at all, it's going to be a big blow for them. So going forward, that could be something. Remember one more thing. Again, one of the things that Rohan alluded to is the fact that there's a differential between the two teams reduces with the duration of the game. Okay, the shorter the game, the less skill matters. The difference in skill becomes less. But what you've also got to realize is that the toss is taking a larger and larger part.
sure.
I mean, today, them winning the toss has been a huge advantage to them. And I think that's the one thing which is going to be interesting, that if these conditions continue in Sri Lanka, the toss is going to be very vital for this group.
Now, Rohan, now that they've qualified, they play their last league stage game against Zimbabwe in a couple of days. But their first Super 8's game is only on the 22nd. So that might allow them to sort out whatever niggle Pathirana might have had. And they can perhaps afford to maybe try someone else in that game against Zimbabwe then.
Oh, absolutely. Again, going to go back to what Joy said in an earlier show, there was a time when people would rush back from injuries. Sure. Now you won't.
Yeah.
Because you've qualified. You might give a couple of players rest, not just one particular player. You might be thinking, okay, listen, what we need to do is maybe try out 3-4 players. You wouldn't want to make too many changes, but you'll make 3-4 changes, saying, okay, listen, let's try these guys out, see what happens. We've already qualified.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think they'll be rushing any player back from injury.
I think just my only point is that if it's a hammy, it doesn't normally go with that easily.
Takes a much longer time.
Right. Well, Australia find themselves in a tricky spot. We will take a look at their bowling card to see if there is anything else that they could have done with Dew playing its part. I was a bit surprised, Rohan, that Nathan Ellis didn't bowl his full quota. He's not bowled badly at all so far up until now in this World Cup. Adam Zampa was clobbered in that one expensive over 41 of his 4. 2 for Maxwell. Could they have done something with the resources?
Look, Manish, I think when you say didn't bowl his full quota, if the match had gone to 20 overs, he probably would have bowled his full quota.
Sure.
This was a 16-over game, so not many are going to finish their quotas in 16 overs game. So, but you're right, he's bowled well throughout the tournament. It's just one of those games where, you suddenly see someone like Nissanka just going hammer and tongs and, just in one of those, he's in the zone, first 100 of the World Cup. So it's a special thing. And there are times when you look at the result and look at the opposition, you just doff your hat and say we were outplayed. And I think Australia will be looking at this game and saying, yeah, they were better than us on the day. There's not much we could do over here.
Just wonder though, now that we're looking at a loss, is this bowling group, does it have it in itself to compete or do well at the World Cup, or have they arrived at the World Cup with a very weak bowling? Because who is your strike bowler?
Look, they would have thought that Zampa is their strike bowler. They would have looked at Zampa as leading the attack under these conditions. I think Zampa did not bowl well. The Dew hasn't helped, but Zampa has not taken that responsibility himself. I mean, Stoinis leading the attack, Stoinis getting 2 wickets, and look, he rarely completes in franchise cricket, he rarely completes his quota. So I think somewhere there, and I felt Maxwell came late, I felt they had a bowling plan and they just stuck to it, and you cannot stick to things when
they didn't go to plan B.
Yeah.
They didn't go to plan B or plan C. And in T20 cricket, and it's funny, like we just said, the shorter the game, the differential between two teams is, but the shorter the game, that's where your captaincy skills are really tested. In a test match, if a session isn't going your way, you're thinking, okay, listen, let's be tight. Let's not concede too many runs. If you're in the fielding unit, let the session end. Okay, if we haven't conceded too many runs, we've got another session after lunch or after tea to come back, recuperate, have a think about what we need to do, go to plan B, go to plan C, come back on the field and execute those plans. In T20 cricket, you don't have that. Your captaincy really matters because, you've got to make those split, on the spur of the moment decisions, which will go either way. Am I going to get bowler X to bowl or bowler Y to bowl? And that could be the difference in the game. So your captaincy has to be spot on. So look, it's one of those where it didn't work out for Australia in this game.
Yeah, it can often be a game of rapid chess on the cricket field, this format, and we've seen that on a number of occasions in this format. Just wonder, though, where did Australia lose this game? Did they lose it in the last 5 overs of their batting innings, scoring just 30, losing 6 wickets?
I think definitely one of the things is they lost it there, which is that not being able to put on enough. After 127 in 10, I think that collapse is just calamitous. And if you see the last part of it, 6 in their last 5 overs, I mean, that is ridiculous. 16 to 20 going for just 6 is ridiculous.
And they would have needed some cushion for the due as well, right? So they didn't have that due cushion.
So I think for me, it starts with Tim David's dismissal. You know, when he goes for a shot and under those, you already lost 3 wickets. You're under pressure. Why are you going to try and do a shot like that? Hold on a bit more. One there. And then after Maxwell gets in, Inglis and Maxwell get in, they're throwing away that partnership. I think after that, it was just a procession of players. So I think they were 20 short there. And I didn't think they bowled imaginatively enough. I don't think they rang in the changes well. They were, as usual, they were a gun fielding side. You can't say anything about their fielding. But the bowling was uninspiring to say the least. And with these conditions, if you're not getting that one lucky break or something that, you're on the game.
One lucky break could have been that stumping.
True.
Just a little bit in there, which was said not out. And I think the next delivery or the delivery
it went straight through.
Stumping chance which was missed because it went between bat and pad.
Yeah.
Now that's that little bit of luck you need in a tight game. It wasn't a tight game, but at that stage it could have become
big and tight.
The sad part about losing a game is that everything that you have done, every decision you've taken will be looked at through a very critical lens. What about the team selection? Steve Smith's flown all the way. Was there a case for him to play in a game like this? If yes, for who?
Well, I mean, I clearly thought there was a case because I said that in the pre-match show that, I think this was, an ideal sort of scenario for him to come and play. Now, if you don't play him, what you want is the batters to go really hard. And that is why to a certain degree, I can understand Tim David's shot to a certain degree. Because you're thinking, okay, listen, we are playing that extra batter so that I can be a little bit more aggressive. But I've always said this, you've still got to respect the conditions out there and maybe give yourself a little bit of time to just assess the conditions, assess the situation and then play all the shots that you have. Now, if Steve Smith was there, this again, hindsight is 20/20. You can look back and, say a lot of things in hindsight. He may have played differently. I'm not saying Tim David would not have been in the side, but at that point, at that stage of the innings, maybe he would have been batting because Steve Smith's not going to be batting at number 7 or number 8. He's going to be batting higher up, either 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So maybe he could have been the glue that could have just, that one player, that one batter who everyone else revolves around.
Yeah, I suppose at the end of this all, Andrew McDonald, the head coach, and the captain Mitchell Marsh will be left scratching their heads, wondering what they should have done, could have done. They left out a form batter in Matt Renshaw as well, who wasn't a part of the 11. Now, Australia have one more game left. That is against Oman. Assuming they win that one, they are, of course, likely to win that one. Their fate, Joy, is not anymore in their hands. Sri Lanka have gone through, just one spot left.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zimbabwe has to win one of their next 2 games. And they have 2 games. Basically, Zimbabwe has to lose against Ireland, has to lose against Sri Lanka. So it looks very, very difficult. So the only way for Australia to qualify is Zimbabwe loses both. They beat Oman by a big margin. Then their run rate is better than Zimbabwe and Ireland. That's the only way. All 4 are tied on 4. That's the only way they can go through. It requires a lot of things to happen. None of them are in their hands.
I think
one of the 3 is beating Oman.
Yeah, I think the main thing is for Zimbabwe to lose both games. Because when Zimbabwe lose both games, what will happen is automatically Zimbabwe's net run rate will come down. Now, with Zimbabwe's net run rate coming down, with Australia playing Oman right at the end, they'll know exactly what they'll
know how much to set exactly.
And see, if you have a look at the net run rates right now, plus 1.98 for Zimbabwe, Australia is plus 0.414. So while there is a gap there, with Zimbabwe, if they lose their next 2, that plus 1.98 will come lower down.
Yeah.
And if when that comes lower down, then what you need to be Doman with is probably a bit more manageable. But like we said, it's completely out of their hands. If Zimbabwe win even one game, they're through.
They play Ireland tomorrow, so if Zimbabwe win tomorrow, it's done and dusted then.
Yep, and Steven Smith can look at it, put it down to air miles and say, okay, yeah, I've earned some
or
points.
Or go and have fun against.
I've earned some more platinum points for my...
Right. It's been a fun Monday at work, as it always is for all of us on Cricbuzz Live. Tomorrow, you will see Scotland versus Nepal at the Wankhede Stadium. Well, these are two teams who have shown us some spark. Scotland lost to the West Indies, but it's a team that has a lot of promise. A lot of their players play in the English county circuit as well. Joy, at the Wankhede is quite a sight. It's a delight for any young player to play at the Wankhede, and they should fancy themselves against the Nepalese, who haven't won anything despite being impressive.
Yeah, see, if you look at it from both sides, one is that Nepal, I mean, when I was in the flight coming here to Bombay for Cricbuzz, it was full of Nepalese. Okay, all of them so many of them have travelled with the team. This is
wonderful.
It's a huge thing in Nepal, and they're easily the most supported outside team if you look anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, leave aside India travelling to Sri Lanka to go and see Pakistan game, but other than that, they're the most number of fans are supporting them, and they've just not really managed to put that together. I mean, Dipendra Airi has got a few runs, but a lot of good batters, Arif Sheikh, Kushal Bhuttel, none of them have managed to get going. None of them have shown the form that they're capable of. Gulshan Jha, they've been a disappointment. And you know why they'd feel even worse? Because the West Indies is a team they actually beat.
Yes.
They beat the West Indies in a bilateral series. They would have fancied their chances against somebody like... they would have fancied their chances against Italy. They went down to Italy. So those are the matches they look at and they'll say, I mean, how did we lose to these sides?
Look,
West Indies I can understand, but Italy?
No, see, the thing is, after that first game against England,
yeah, when they went so close.
When they went so close, all eyes were on Nepal. Everyone was talking about the fact that, look, this is probably one of the associate member teams that we need to focus on, because this team looks like they can do what Afghanistan have done over the last 10-15 years. Make that step up and become a really good cricketing nation. Now, when all eyes are on you after a performance like England, and then you lose by 10 wickets to Italy, and there's a chance if they lose to Scotland tomorrow, you'll be finishing this campaign without a win. From being a team that all eyes are on and saying, okay, listen, is this the team that we need to really, from the associate members, help?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's obligatory to help all sort of, where you can. But is this the team which way in terms maybe help a bit more because they can make that step up? To then ending the campaign without a win, it will be a very disappointing campaign for Nepal and their fans.
Bowling has been a concern in the 3 games so far. They've taken only 8 wickets. Their main man, Sandeep Lamichhane, has picked up only 1 wicket. Runs for Airi. He's been their top run scorer, 58 against the West Indies. A total of 119 runs so far. Joy, clearly in the bowling group, Lamichhane has to step up. Is there a change that you'd suggest, or do they go with the same 11?
Look, this is their team. I mean, now that Sompal has come back into the team, this is their team. This is their standard lineup. Sher Malla has given way to Sompal coming in the last couple of matches. Look, Podel, Airi, they're the guys, they haven't just got enough runs. I can't blame the bowlers because they haven't got enough runs. If you don't have enough runs, bowlers like Lamichhane cannot put the opposition under pressure. So I think this is where they've really, really gone wrong. And yes, they need their entire side to just come up for the party. They owe it not to us, but to their fans, because their fans have been absolutely fantastic throughout this tournament.
Yeah, the Scots will, of course, play their first game at the Wankhede, having played 3 in Kolkata. And I'm assuming the noise at the Wankhede, I expect a big crowd there. And we've seen some pretty good crowds turn up for these non-India games. The Scots, I'm sure, perhaps will be playing in front of a big crowd like this. More people at the Wankhede than in the whole of Edinburgh. You'd know a thing or two about that city.
Well, Edinburgh is a beautiful, beautiful city. It is, it's one of my favorite cities in the world. You'll be surprised, they have a Christmas market and a New Year Day, New Year's Eve thing, where there are millions of people who come to Edinburgh. So it's not a small city. So look, I think Well, I hope there's a big crowd at the 1K day.
Sure.
I hope there's a big crowd because I think a packed 1K day brings about its own sort of charm.
Yeah.
And when you're playing in some of these iconic stadiums, like the Eden Gardens, in Calcutta, the 1K day in Mumbai, what you would really want to experience is, see, look, what makes these stadiums iconic? It's not the structure. It's the people, the fans who come there.
Yeah.
It's the noise, the fans who make it iconic. Because if you look at the structural sort of Eden Gardens or 1K day, it's great, it's nice, but it's nothing iconic. It's the noise, the fans, the atmosphere, the vibe. So let's hope that both Scotland and Nepal get a taste of that, the vibe and the atmosphere of well, even if it's not a packed 1K day, a semi-packed 1K day.
Yeah. That's noisy enough. George Munsey, Michael Jones, of course, Joy hold the key, and then there is Tom Bruce as well, who just needs to step up. Only 60 runs across 3 matches.
Yeah, I think, again, I'll go back and say McMullen needs to do well.
I agree.
McMullen needs to do well. Mark Watt has been a huge disappointment for them. Mark Watt really needs to come to their party. He's their most experienced left-arm bowler. Under these conditions, I think, look, they did well against England. I thought they gave England a bit of a run for their money before they, started collapsing. This is a side, remember, that 3 weeks, 1 to a month before didn't know they were coming to this tournament.
Yeah.
So given the circumstances under which they've come replacing Bangladesh, I think they've done a fabulous job. They'll say that, if we sign off this with a victory, it'll be so, so good.
In football though, there's a great story.
Denmark
came in as a replacement in the 92 Euro Championships from nowhere, and they ended up winning the championships.
There are many, many stories in store from Mr. Gavaskar's treasure trove. All those will come out tomorrow. We'll save a few of those for tomorrow's much detailed preview show at 6:30 p.m. But very quickly, gentlemen, players to watch out for. One each, please.
For me, Brad McMullen from one side. And again, you can't go beyond Dipender Singh Airi. He is their talisman.
I'm going to go with George Munsey. And since you mentioned Lamichan, I'm going to go with him.
Done. We are done for the day. Oh, no, we aren't. We have to get the answer to today's Joy Factor.
Before that, should we congratulate him? He managed to get it.
Well because I need this because I don't get it too often.
Well done, sir.
So let's round of applause, everyone.
Well done.
Thank you.
He's such a humble man. He gets it right very often during the IPL. But theek hai.
No, we're talking about the guessing game.
I know.
Kahan we're in the IPL? Nothing.
Sir, aap bhul jate ho karke. You also won a trophy, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I think I came. Yeah, you're right. In one of the guessing games, I've been up there.
So he either wins the guessing game or he gets the Joy Factor right.
I haven't got the Joy Factor right today. Though I will say this. I was seeing the scorecard of the Italian game today, and I saw the 2 openers had the same name. I'm not sure if they're twins or not. They're not twins.
Manetti and the other.
Are they?
Manetti.
Go for it.
No. Let's have a look at it. Those are brothers, I think. Take a look. Current cricketer's twin made his debut. Played a total of 15, 8 tests, 7 ODIs. And it's Craig Overton, the brother of Jamie Overton.
Ooh. Tricky one, sir.
Yeah.
Now you know. Bowled well for England. We are done. We're not.
We're not?
Because we have to tell the world that you got one prediction right today, sir. I also got one right.
Leaderboard has to come on.
But before that, see, I keep forgetting.
Yeah,
you have to get the winner's name, sir.
Exactly. The winner's name we haven't got out as yet.
Bring up the winner's name, Sudeep Abhayankar.
Yeah, he's got a few in the past. Well done, Sudeep. He's got quite a few, actually.
Now we can do what you've been waiting for, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's now show the world the might of Mr. Rohan Gavaskar on this guessing game leaderboard graphic. I'm on the left. I'm very happy to be on the left. I've reached up to number 3.
Oh, well done.
So you are on the left as well, sir.
Yeah, 25%. Wow.
You wouldn't mind reaching number 2, would you? To replace your good friend Murli Karthik.
I mean, MK is a legend. So
legend. Absolute legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. We'll keep him there.
But these 2 legends will be back in this very studio tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Scotland versus Nepal. Cricbuzz Live. It shall be. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.